Italy.
Hello, Krishnalter. Hello, Abdelak. Good morning.
Hi, morning.
Good morning, Blancafor.
Hi, good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Could you please turn on your webcam?
Okay.
I would like to request all the participants to turn on their webcams. Hi, good morning, Roberto.
Good morning.
How are you? I am fine,
Fine,
thank you. Thank you so
Good
much.
morning from Italy.
Thank you so much for joining the conference.
It's a pleasure.
Hello, Krishnalter. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Blancafor.
Good morning again.
So, how is the weather in your country?
I'm actually here in Malaysia, and the
Okay.
weather is fine.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Good to know. Good morning, Abdelak.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Thank you so much. I am fine, great. Thank you
Good.
so much for asking.
Welcome.
So I am pronouncing your name correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Thank you so much. So where are you?
I'm in Malaysia now.
Okay. So how is the weather in Malaysia right now?
Very hot.
Very hot. Okay. Al Salman, I would like to request you to turn on your camera.
Okay, I'm in Malaysia. I was expecting the conference to be in the morning. I didn't see that or notice that it is the Greenwich time.
Okay.
So I'm in a way in my car.
Okay.
So I can turn the camera, but I don't know if it's.
Okay. So we are sorry for the inconvenience, but
No, it's okay. It's my fault. I didn't read, the details.
Okay.
Okay.
It's okay. You can join the conference. Whenever you are at a good place, you can turn on your webcam.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Hello, Subit.
So the event is about to start. Okay, so we will start with the event. Good morning, all of you, and welcome to the live online international conference from Eurasia Research. Today, we have presentations and participants from 9 countries around the world, and we are broadcasting the conference on Facebook Live on multiple pages of Eurasia Research. The links for the live sessions are shared in the chat box, so you can please refer to your friends, family, colleagues. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so before moving ahead with the conference, I would like to explain Eurasia Research to all of you in a nutshell. Welcome to the Eurasia Research International Conference. Please allow me a moment to introduce Eurasia Research to all of you in a nutshell. With over more than 1 million satisfied members and associates spread across the globe, Eurasia Research is a scholarly association who have been working for nearly a decade. Eurasia Research has organized several successful international conferences, workshops, and training programs at various reputed institutions and grand venues. Eurasia has been tirelessly working for research world and have not stopped their endeavors even during COVID era. and have presented research community with an online platform which was safe and convenient method to continue their passion. We are an international community of researchers, practitioners, students, and educationists who aim to bring together worldwide researchers and professionals, encourage intellectual development, and to create opportunities for networking and collaboration. These objectives are achieved through academic networking, meetings, conferences, workshops, projects, research publications, academic awards, and scholarships. We provide scholarship to deserving candidates to promote students and research scholars to participate in the international conference. Young Researcher Scholarship is provided in the form of full registration fee waiver. We have a vast experience of publishing papers for more than 7 years. Our associated journals published original papers, review papers, conceptual framework, analytical and simulation models, case studies, empirical research, technical notes, and book reviews. We cater to more than 30 plus themes in the area of teaching and education and have registered ISSN and have following renowned indexing, Google Scholar, Crosscheck, Authenticate, Crossref, the Keepers Registry, Script, Portico, Road, OAI PMH Registered Data Provider, PKP Index, and we will soon be applying for Scopus 2. We have a wide network of 100 plus internationally acclaimed keynote across the globe who share their knowledge and guidance with our participants with open hands. We have a large number of committee members and advisors who support us and guide us through their expert opinions and decision-making capabilities. We couldn't have thought of reaching here without them. We also encourage our participants to connect with more than 15K plus followers on our social media platform, where they can share their research and interests, join our Facebook group, and be a part of the discussions by researchers and academicians. We also have several collaborations with universities, colleges, and institutes to better serve all interested and like-minded intellectuals. With great enthusiasm and pride, we would like to announce our latest project, which is the Terra Fellow Program in Education. This program offers an opportunity to learn the key concepts and latest trends in the teaching industry from the academic stalwarts. We would like to share some of our past participants' experience with you. Thank you for your patience and valuable time. Moving forward with the conference. I would be your today's conference host. My name is Divya Devnani. So beginning with the conference, first, I would like to invite our Terra President, Dr. Len Chili, Dean of Graduate and Professional Studies, LaSalle University, Newton, MA, United States.
I am Dr. Lynn Celli, and I'm currently the Dean of Graduate and Professional Studies at LaSalle University, as you can see in my background. And I'm currently the president of Terra Eurasia, and I've been involved for multiple years with the organization as a participant, as a speaker, as a keynote speaker, and as the president. And I'm very proud of the organization because it brings people from all over the world globally together to talk about issues that affect higher education and other areas in education and other areas, nonprofits, etc. And we talk about issues and successes, and together we can make it better and make it always be improving. And I always say ever evolving. COVID was very difficult for all of us. And being in administration, I had to assist faculty in an immediate way to pivot from a face-to-face delivery of classroom time to to electronic and Zoom and so forth. Many of these faculty members had no idea about the Zoom platform or any other learning delivery modules, the way that they could be delivered. So the administration really had to step in and pivot quickly. And I think overall, and talking to my colleagues across the globe, I feel like they did a wonderful job doing that. I have to say, I don't think it was the same for the students, which is sad. Preschool all the way up through PhD, I think it was difficult. I think it was less difficult for graduate students in master's and doctoral programs because many of those were already online. So there wasn't much of a pivot, but I'm going to say pre-K through the baccalaureate was very difficult, and teachers and administrators were amazing. And I do think our students that lived through that need extra attention, and the research is bearing that out right now. And that's our jobs to try to find ways to make sure that we fill those gaps. I'm going to be very honest. I'm a people person. I'm a relationship person. I thrive on making real eye contact and making real connections with people. I much prefer an on-the-ground conference, a face-to-face conference. I did the keynote for this organization in London last April. I'm doing it again in London. I'm making that commitment to make that trip because I so deeply believe in the relationships and the bonds that have formed, as well as just during the conference, getting to know people and seeing different perspectives rather than just seeing it on a screen. Encourage them to attend a Eurasia conference in general, because I believe in the organization. I'm president of the organization right now. I would encourage them to attend. If they couldn't attend in person for financial or schedule or whatever reason, I would encourage them to attend, but I would encourage them to attend in person first, but always, and I continue to do that, encourage them to attend. Nothing but good things to say about the conference pre-COVID, and last year I did not attend an online conference, so I can't comment on that during COVID, but I can comment on pre-COVID and my experience last year in London. I truly find that the way it's organized in groups and the group work that goes on is different than just to sit and listen, which is what attracted me and why I said yes to becoming president. It's organized in a way where it encourages that collegiality and that sharing of ideas and that sharing not only of the research that you present, but in small groups to broaden that discussion. So the way the conference is organized is well done. Often I can't stay for the whole time because of my busy schedule, but I do stay for the one day that I keynote, and the participation is phenomenal. And other conferences that I've attended, as well as done keynotes, as well as done breakout sessions, they don't organize them that way. Yeah. I organize my breakout sessions and keynotes in other organizations that way, because I feel from my learning styles research that I've done and published on, it's the best way people learn.
So this was our Terra president, Dr. Lan Chili. I would like to thank her for her enlightening speech. So now I would like to invite our eminent speaker, Dol Albright Douglas John, Department of English Language, Betong Vocational College, Sarawak, Malaysia.
My name is Daryl Albright Douglas John. You can call me Daryl. I am a teacher in Bukit Vocational College, where over here we teach vocational subjects such as automotive, welding, culinary arts, accounting, and another 4 more subjects. Over here, we also have several subjects such as English, academics. So I am one of the lecturer teaching English.
Nice.
And our students here range from the age of 16 until 19 years old, where we offer them diploma after they graduate the college. Of course, because I've been to both, I do prefer physical conference, but we're talking about times of uncertainty, and we're talking about times where we don't know what's going to happen in another country, and especially in times of pandemic, where we have threats in terms of in terms of diseases and whatnot. So online conferences is the way to go. But in the future, I hope that we can all gather around and have academic discourse and share our personal values on education.
Yes,
Yes, I would like to encourage them, because versus the conventional method of having the conference physically, having the conference online, that means they can do it at the comfort of their houses, their offices, or wherever they are, and delivering the academic research and also sharing the thoughts on academic subjects, also topics. Of course, when we talk about online, right, it's much cheaper, much more accessible for everyone. So we can encourage, a lot of people to just share their opinions on whatever things that they have in the country, so that we can live together. So I'll suggest them to do so. Why not?
Thank you, and thank.
Positive feedback is I get to actually understand the academic situation in other countries. That day was Romania, and also some from other countries as well. So I discovered that the problem that we encounter in Malaysia is also the same as in other countries, such as internet connectivity, such as also maybe English language proficiency. So that is something that I learned, and also they suggest new ways how to tackle that that problem, so I can adapt that to my classroom or to my other colleagues over here. Have a good day to you too.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, Doll, for your enlightening speech. And now I would like to invite our next eminent speaker, Dan Popescu, Department of Management, Faculty of Management, the Bucharest University of Economic Studies, Bucharest, Romania.
Okay, I'm a professor, a PhD at the Bucharest University of Economic Studies. It's a management department, and I'm very glad to participate from 2 years to your international conferences organized by Terra. So looking at my intervention, is online a better option in the post-pandemic era? I can give my personal answer. I think it's not a better option, but it's an option, because we can't replace the live contact face-to-face with the online one. Yes, of course, not only that I suggest, but also I brought to become members of Terra, if I well remember, 5 of my colleagues, and they became the members of Terra, and we are very honored about this. First of all, the most important, I think, it was the fact that we knew new colleagues from anywhere, and especially from your region. And this was very, very important because we saw also your mind open to friendship, to collaborative research, and this is really very, very important. Thank you very much also, and from all my heart for your opening. It's very, very
Thank you, sir.
important.
Thank you so much, sir.
This was Dan Popescu. Thank you, sir, for your feedback. Moving ahead with the conference. So our conference schedule is as following. We have divided the conference in 3 sessions. Session 1 would be keynote talk. Session 2 would be tech team activity and a photo session. And session 3 would be technical talk. I would like to request all the participants to rename their Zoom accounts with their full name in English. This will help us to record our presence. You may ask your questions related to the presentations in the chat section while the presentations are going on. All the certificates, receipts, proceedings will be sent to the participant within the week on their mail IDs. The proceedings will include all the full papers and abstract accepted for the conference. Moving ahead with the publication process. The publication process starts once the registration process is complete. The author needs to send their papers, consent form, and review details on the email ID given. The review reports will be sent to the author once the review process is over. The final stage of publication starts after receiving the revised papers from the author. Please note that the publication process takes around 50 days after the conference dates if all the editorial guidelines are followed within the given deadlines. Moving ahead. Beginning with the session 1 of the conference, I would first like to invite our keynote speaker, Professor Roberto Adriani, Senior Partner at Heritage House, PROI Worldwide, Milan, Italy, and member of PR Week Awards, New York, London, United Kingdom. His topic is corporate reputation in the metaverse. Roberto specializes in corporate reputation and crisis communication with a special focus on the life sciences industry. Before joining Heritage House, he spent 12 years working at MSL Publicis, where he was crisis and public affairs practice leader. In this role, he had also managed the liaison between the Italian branch of MSL and the company's EMEA public affairs practice in Brussels. Roberto is also a former adjunct professor of languages of the Media of Erasmus program students at the University of Milan, and he has taught at the Washington University Rome Center. He is also a speaker at the international conferences on PR and communication. He has written several papers for international publications. Roberto is a member of the PR Week Awards NY London, the International Jury of Romanian Public Relations Award, and the Italian Journalist Guild. He graduated in political sciences from the University of Pisa with a specialization in international relations. Subsequently, he received a master's degree in corporate communication from the Academy of Communication Business School in Milan and a post-graduation certificate in the language and communications from the University of Florence. I would like to welcome Robert Adriani. Sir.
Thank you.
And I'm a senior partner of the public relations firm Heritage House, part of the global network PROI. My keynote speech is about corporate reputation in the metaverse. The metaverse is a concept that is now commonly used and it's linked to other more familiar concepts like AR and VR. AR refers to the use of digital technologies connected to electronic devices like special glasses that allow virtual information to be added to the physical reality we are observing at the time. VR means the recreation of an entirely virtual three-dimensional space that the user can see in their visor and with which they can interact by moving within it. The metaverse goes beyond both of these concepts. It certainly goes beyond ER in that the user's immersion in the three-dimensional and digital reality is complete. In this respect, the metaverse is more similar to VR than AR. And the metaverse is going to be, if the metaverse is going to be a real social space, it's evident that not only people, but also companies and organizations in general will have their own role and interact with all the other participants in this dimension. Currently, public opinion seems to take for granted that the metaverse will also be populated by companies that will sell their products there. But metaverse is also an opportunity to enhance their corporate reputation. And you can see here an interesting survey about how people think metaverse will look like. However, despite the fact that the metaverse is the result of the convergence of social and technological trends, it's not certain that the metaverse will consist of a single environment, however multifaceted and articulated. If you look, for example, at what Meta is doing, we see an attempt to make its own metaverse, as other companies are also doing, like Epic Games, Roblox, Zepeto, etc. These metaverses, as they are currently conceived, are destined not to communicate with each other. Consequently, it is likely that most of the activities won't be able to be performed simply by moving from one platform to another with their digital assets, but will have to be recreated from scratch each time, probably starting with the avatar itself. We mentioned it before, corporate reputation. So let's have a look at this concept. Reputation is one of the most intangible assets of a company, so intangible that it's even difficult to find a single definition of corporate reputation. This difficulty also originates from the wide range of cross-disciplinary perspectives that have been taken, which include economics, accountancy, sociology, marketing, organizational behavior, and strategy. According to the existing literature on corporate reputation, we can identify three schools of thought that are in current use within the reputation paradigm. The evaluative school takes only financial performance into consideration as the reputational indicator. As a result of this view, the evaluative school considers one single kind of stakeholder, such as an investor or a very small group of similar stakeholders, like those from the business community. The impressionist school is a change of paradigm which sees corporate reputation as the overall impression of an organization. While the evaluative school takes only pure business indicators into consideration, the impressional approach starts by taking into consideration the stakeholders' emotional association with a firm. And the last school, the third one, the relational school, like the impressional, is rooted in the emotional elements. Consequently, it's more focused on what the company's stakeholders feel rather than what they need. The difference between these schools is in the kind of stakeholders they take into consideration. While with the impressional school, attention is almost entirely focused on external stakeholders, the relational school's attention is focused on the gap between internal and external stakeholders. For large brands, the metaverse may represent not only an additional way to sell their products, but also an opportunity to enhance their reputation, as said, by cultivating their relationships with consumers and stakeholders even more closely. The metaverse seems to offer brands unprecedented opportunities. Companies will be able to experiment with new and considerably more engaging forms. In addition, companies will be able to relate in an immersive and even more direct manner with all stakeholders of their interest. Since the interaction, however direct, will no longer be only from behind the screen, but in a way that involves all our senses, it will be capable of generating much stronger and more impactful emotions. This is why brands must take responsibility from the outset to be a reliable interlocutor and place the user in a safe context. It's clear that interaction in the metaverse will also present risks. So, we can distinguish different types of risks directly or indirectly affecting the company's reputation. First of all, incorrect relationship brand users. This is the risk of a direct damage to a company's reputation caused by the behavior and reactions of the users, or the avatars, towards the company's brand and with whom they somehow enter into a relationship. For instance, if a company decides to sponsor a large virtual event, its participants indirectly become its ambassadors, especially if they can use branded digital goods made available by the company itself. Misbehavior by some users, or in theory even one, can cast a negative shadow on the company. Intellectual property infringement. Regardless of arranging or sponsoring large events, there is always the risk of possible use, again by some avatars, of unauthorized company brands, logos and signs, with the associated infringement of intellectual property. Among other things, this risk is particularly high in the digital dimension, where users already often create content using logos and names without authorization. Sexual harassment. Although virtual reality is still a young technology and metaverse is in its infancy, there are already several cases of sexual harassment by male avatars towards female avatars on various platforms. The common trait that all this episode seems to have is the conviction on part of the harasser that is moving in an environment outside the law, in a no-man's land where it's possible to act out the worst fantasies without paying the consequences. If such negative behavior is carried out in context in which the company plays a role, like a sponsor, organizer, etc., there may be damage to the reputation of the brand, as it may, for example, be accused of failing to prevent such behavior. Privacy. Since the metaverse is an immersive context in which much more personal information is shared simultaneously than already in our usual online activity, the protection of users' privacy is more important than ever. Here, it is worth mentioning a study conducted on 30 users engaged in an escape room, during which the team of researchers verified the possibility that a hacker attack could appropriate a lot of sensitive information, such as the biometric data of the participants. The same danger must also be avoided with regard to intrusions by government that might implement illegal form of surveillance. And also fake news. International literature has now extensively documented the phenomenon of online disinformation, how it works and the damage it does, including to corporate reputation. The metaverse requires that those who populate it, starting with companies, are trustworthy. Trust will probably be the most important value and must pervade every level of the virtual dimension. Efforts have long been made to develop a based system capable of detecting and containing the spread of false information. However, while no solving technologies have yet been developed, at the same time the arrival of the metaverse will make disinformation even more dangerous, especially with regard to the realization of possible deep fakes. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much, Professor Roberto, for your enlightening presentation.
Thank you. And I'm open. I'm here to ask your questions or to get your comments or just simply share your thoughts about what you have seen.
Okay. Would you like to add something to the presentation?
Well, I can just add that I think that metaverse is experiencing a sort of turning point because a turning point from a contents point of view as well as technology point of view. From the second point of view, technology, I think that there is a great issue about how much really open metaverse will be. So what we will have, many metaverses created by organizations, companies. So every organization will create its own metaverse, or we will have a real open and immersive, of course, environment where all the user will be navigate in a easy way. We don't know yet. We are getting different insights, and let's see how will metaverse be created.
Okay. Thank you so much for your informative speech. And I would like to request all the participants to put any of the questions related to Sir Roberto's presentation in the chat box, and he will answer your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving ahead with the conference, I would like to invite our next keynote speaker, Dr. Abdelak Senachki, Associate Professor of Economics at the Faculty of Business and Finance, University Tunku Abdul Rahman, Malaysia. Topic: Developing Future Environment, Social and Governance Leaders, the Roles of Higher Ed and Industry. Dr. Abdelak Senachki is an Assistant Professor of Economics at the Faculty of Business and Finance, University Tunku Abdul Rahman, Malaysia. He obtained his PhD from University Sains, Malaysia in 2013 and the thesis titled Vulnerability to Poverty, a study of rural population in Kelantan and Terengganu, Malaysia. He received his Masters of Economic Management in 2008 from the same university and Bachelor degree of Economics in 2003 from the University of Algiers. He was awarded the USM Fellowship from 2010 to 2013 and has served as an academic researcher for that period. His research interests include energy economics, economic development, focusing on the issues of income inequalities, poverty and vulnerability, poverty in Islamic economics, risk management and coping strategies, housing, elderly and social protection. Dr. Abdelak Senachki, Issues of Poverty, has published various in local and international report journals, scopus, chapters in books, and research papers on the issues of poverty, vulnerability, and social protection, housing bubbles, youth and technology, elderly, CO2 emissions, natural disasters, economic growth, organizational culture, employee creativity, innovation, and others. He is a member of the advisory board for the Market Forces Journal and reviewer for a number of referred journals such as Journal of Islamic Accounting and Business Research, Journal of Development Career, International Journal of Social Economics, Cognate Economics and Finance Equilibrium, Quarterly Journal of Economics and Economic Policy, Journal of Environment, Social and Space, Quarterly Journal of Economic Research, International Journal of Islamic and Middle Eastern Finance and Management, and others. Thank you, Dr. Abdelak Senachki, for joining today's conference.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, esteemed guests, organizers, and fellow participants. It is a truly pleasure to be here today at this prestigious conference, the International Conference on Business, Economics, and Policy. And I'm so happy to be here to discuss with you a topic that is near and dear to my heart, developing future environment and social and governance leaders, or ESG leaders. The role of higher ed and industry. I am Dr. Abdul Haq Sinajkin, Associate Professor and the Head of Program, Doctor of Philosophy, Economics, Department of Economics, Faculty of Business and Management and Finance, University Tunku Abdul Rahman. So I am also deeply grateful for the opportunity to share my insight and experiences with all of you. ESG leadership actually is a crucial in today's world, and I am honored to be part of this important conversation. As someone who is passionate about sustainability and social responsibility, I'm thrilled to be among like-minded individuals who share the same vision for a better future. So I look forward to engaging with each of you and learning from your expertise, your experience. So thank you very much for having me in today's conference. So what is ESG? ESG is a set of standards for a company behavior used by socially conscious investors to screen potential investment, and this is based on Investopedia. So it has three components, which is environment, social, and governance. Environment criteria, where we assess how a corporation protect the environment, such as corporate policy addressing climate change, emission of greenhouses, and so on. The social criteria, where we look at how the company maintains connection with workers, suppliers, consumers, and communities in which it works with. So support effort to, for example, abolish discrimination based on race, gender, as well as other socially and ethically important causes such as diversity, inclusion, community focus, social justice, and business ethics. And the last, governance, where the focus is mostly about concern with leadership of how to say a corporation, executive remuneration, audits, internal controls, and shareholders. So this all could be put under the governance criteria. So if, let's say, we talk about some issues and examples and their metrics. So if we talk about environment, so we talk about pollution, waste, climate change. So we can have greenhouse gas, the metric, for example, CO2 emission per unit produced, how we are going to reduce this emission. If you talk about social, we talk about gender diversity policies, safety and quality control, human rights. So one of the criteria is health, safety, where the assessment will be on employee accident related to total hours worked. Then we have the last one, governance, where we talk about corporate behavior, corporate governance, accounting practices, board practices. One of the example is we have board independence, and the criteria or the assessment, we may look at independent members relative to affiliated members. So these some of the metrics. So why developing an ESG leaders is important in the current global context? This is because of mostly 5 criteria based on my understanding and experience. There are other factors, but I believe these 5 are the most important factors that lead us, or we should develop ESG or leaders. The first one is addressing global changes. So when we talk about addressing global changes, means that we're talking about climate change, social inequality, and ethical corporate governance, which are just a few examples of environment, social, and governance issues that must be addressed. So creating leaders that put sustainability and social justice and openness in decision making as a top priorities can actually aid in solving these problems. The second, we have investors' demand, where investors want to put their money into a business that show they are leading the way on environmental and societal and governance issues. So investing in the growth of ESG leaders can help business respond to this demand and compete for greater funding. So we have customers or reputation and brand image, customer satisfaction. So customers almost always are more likely to remain loyal and buy from business that have a good ESG practices and leadership, which in turn can boost profit. Then we have risk mitigation, where environmental, social, and governance hazard, such as natural disasters, civil unrest, and regulatory infractions can lead severe financial and reputational ramifications for business. So investing in the growth of ESG leaders may protect business from this threat and help them avoid wasteful missteps. Then the last one, we have talent attraction and retention. So attracting and retaining the top talent, where we have millennials and Generation Z are increasingly selective about the business they want to work for. So giving preference to those who share their commitment to ESG's issues, they show their responsibility. So investing in the growth of ESG leaders can benefit business in several also ways and methods. And how the higher ed or educational institution can contribute to development of ESG leaders. The first one, which is most of the higher educational institutions do, is in curriculum and programs they offer. So programs and degrees offered that address ESG concerns can be designed and offered by higher education. So higher ed mission is to equip the next generation of leaders with the skills they need to make ESG concept a top priority in the organization. Second, research and scholarship, where higher ed is capable of doing research on ESG concepts and producing scholarly works on these topics, so both of which can inform policy and practices in a wide range of sectors. So higher ed can actually use the studies to update its course offering and curricula, giving its students access to the most current and up-to-date and relevant knowledge. The third one, partnership and collaboration, where higher ed may collaborate with business, non-profit organization, NGOs to raise awareness of ESG concepts and foster the next generation of leadership who will make them a top priority. For example, collaborations can take numerous forms, including research initiative, internship, and employment opportunities, and the exchange of knowledge and resources between academia and higher education. So again, we will have professional development and training, where higher ed can help existing and future ESG leaders to advance their career to a variety of professional development and training programs. So this can take the form of workshops, seminars, conferences, or any other educational programs that train participants to become an effective ESG leaders. The last one is community outreach and engagement, where higher ed may reach out to communities near and far to increase awareness of environmental, social, and governance issues and foster the next generation of industry leaders. So some example of these are holding conferences and other events, forming alliances with local groups, and advertising ESG focused causes and campaign. So challenges that may rise in developing ESG leaders. The first one, we have lack of awareness, where many people may not recognize the significance of ESG concepts or appreciate the effect may have on the company and society. This may hinder the cultivation of leaders who prioritize ESG concept and reduce the availability of resources and support for ESG endeavor. The second one, resistant to change, where companies with a long-established norms and belief may find it especially challenging to shift their corporate culture to place a greater emphasis on environmental and social governance concerns. So creating ESG leaders may initiate sweeping changes to operational producers, which may be faced with pushback from those in organization who prefer the status quo. The third one is a complex and evolving landscape where ESG issues actually are intricate and varied, and the context in which they exist is dynamic and ever-changing. So creating ESG leaders call for a constant learning and adaptation of new circumstances and dissemination of the most recent finding and recommendation in the field. Then we have lack of consensus on metrics and standards. So it can be difficult actually to evaluate and compare different corporation and organization due to the absence of a universally acknowledged set of metrics and standards for measuring ESG performance. So establishing new frameworks for monitoring and reporting ESG performance may be necessary for developing ESG leaders, which can be a time-consuming and difficult task. The number 5, we have limited access to resources and expertise, where access to research and data, technology, and specialized training may be necessary for developing ESG leaders, but these are often hard to come by, and not all companies have the means to cultivate ESG leaders, which can reduce the impact of ESG efforts. The last one, we have lack of regulatory framework, where some regulatory frameworks exist, to advance the ESG concept, but they may not be uniform or strong enough to encourage widespread adoption of ESG practices. It can be difficult also to cultivate ESG leaders in the midst of regulatory regime that are both complex and inconsistent. Then how higher ed can address these challenges? First, by increasing awareness and understanding. So integrating ESG issues in the curriculum and work programs, higher ed can enhance awareness and understanding of ESG issues by doing just that. So higher ed mission is to foster a new generation of leaders who place a premium on ESG concepts by educating students on a topic significance and its effect on a business and society. Promoting a culture of change, where higher ed may help foster a culture of change by serving a role model for effective ESG leadership, while also providing a safe space for creative risk-taking. So the cultural norms and expectations around ESG concept can be shifted with the help of higher ed effort to showcase the benefit of ESG. So we have staying up to date with the latest development, where higher ed is able to keep up with the development in the field of ESG leadership through an in-house research, strategic partnership with thought leaders and experts, and participation in relevant conferences and events. So we have developing a metric and standards, where metrics and standards are hard to develop. So higher ed can undertake research and collaborate with industry leaders and stakeholders, establishing metric and standard for monitoring ESG performance. So the higher ed may aid to promote of openness and accountability in realm of ESG leadership by developing uniform framework for evaluating and reporting ESG performance. So we have number 5, providing access to resource and expertise, where access to these resources is not to all industries. So higher ed can also help in this by forming partnership with established experts in the field and creating tailored training courses and workshops to industries. And the last, advocating for a stronger regulatory framework where we have higher ed can engage policymakers and other stakeholders to push for a more robust regulatory frameworks for ESG challenges. So higher ed can assist with an environment that encourage and support ESG leadership by utilizing its influence and experience to lobby for stricter rules and policies. So what is the potential future of ESG leadership in development in a rapidly changing global context? We have first one is climate change, where increased demand of ESG leadership development can be attributed to the pressing issues of climate change as companies and governments seek to equip themselves with the know-how to move forward to a low carbon economy and mitigate the physical and social risks that came with. Then we have social justice, where increased attention to ESG leadership development that integrate the themes of social justice into leadership practices and decision making reflect the growing acknowledgement of the importance of justice, which include diversity, equity, and inclusion. Then we have technological disruption, where there has been a rise in interest in ESG leadership training as a means of preparing business and government leaders to deal with complexities posed by rapid pace of technological change and to make the most of the opportunities that this technological change present. The last one is geographical instability, where we have uncertainty and complexity in a global scene are on the rise, and conflict and unrest spread around the globe. As a result, there has been a rise in interest in ESG leadership development as a means to prepare future business and government leaders to deal with the complex challenges of today's. So as a conclusion, as an organization and government around the world face an increasing number of environmental, social and governance concerns, the cultivation of these ESG leaders is becoming increasingly vital in the current global setting. So higher ed can play a crucial part in this endeavor by offering leadership development programs tailored to these challenges. However, the number of difficulties may also rise, such as juggling multiple priorities or overcoming resistance to change in organization culture level. So higher ed can address these all by employing many methods such as specific training and education, collaboration and partnership, and the application of digital technology to overcome these obstacles. So global issues like climate change, social justice, technology change, and political instability are expected to affect the future ESG leadership development. So we can say an increased collaboration and partnership between different stakeholders to develop ESG leadership programs and initiatives with a greater impact is needed to meet these challenges, as is a great focus on developing the skills and knowledge needed to make a sustainable and responsible decision. At the last, we say a more sustainable and a just world can only be achieved through a cultivation of ESG leaders, and higher ed plays significant part of this endeavor. So as a memorable thought-provoking statement, we say, let's remember that ESG leadership is not just a buzzword, but a moral imperative and strategic imperative for business and society and even individuals. As Allah said in the Quran, chapter 13, verse 11, indeed Allah will not change the condition of people until they change what is in themselves. Means that this verse of Quran emphasizes on the importance of the personal transformation as a prerequisite for society change. it suggests that if individuals want to see a positive change in their communities or societies, they must first be willing to change themselves and their behavior. So this concept also of a personal responsibility for change, which is central to many movements aimed to promoting positive societal and environmental outcomes, including the ESG framework. So let us be the change by developing future ESG leaders who will drive positive impact, create a more sustainable world, and leave a lasting legacy for generations to come. Thank you very much. That's all what I want to share with you. If you have any question, please do ask, and I will be happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Abdelix Sanachki, for your presentation.
Welcome.
Would you like to add something?
No, thank you. I'm very happy to receive questions, feedback, some suggestions from my colleague.
Okay, thank you so much. Please, I would like to request all the participants to please put their questions related to Sir's presentation in the chat box, and he will answer all of your questions. Thank you so much. Moving ahead with the conference. Our next keynote speaker is Dr. Saker Square, Professor, Architecture Department, College of Engineering, Al Arbat University, Jordan. Topic, are we introducing buildings and technology to serve human mankind? Saker Square is a professor in architecture at the Department of Architecture, Al Arbat University, Jordan, a visiting teacher at different universities such as UET, Lahore, Pakistan, Cairo University, Egypt, University of Jordan, Yarmouk University, and Talifa Technical University in Jordan, and Al Yumna University, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Worked as an ex-director of architecture and interior architecture, Al Yamaha University, Saudi Arabia, ex-director of municipal affairs, ex-deputy undersecretary and advisor to the Ministry of Local Administration, ex-mayor of Talifa Greater Municipality. Due to some unavoidable reasons, he is not able to join the conference today, but participants having any questions related to him can put their questions in the chat box. So this brings us to the end of session 1 of the conference. Now we will begin with session 2 of the conference, which would be team activity and photo session. Let's proceed towards our team building activity. Sometimes we miss the opportunity of the connection and linkage with fellow participants of the conference. This team activity is to encourage interaction among all the participants. One by one, we will share our views and solutions on the topic of discussion, and we will be conducting a photo session during the same. So our today's topic of discussion is, why are we so attached to our things?
After witnessing the violent rage shown by babies whenever deprived of an item they considered their own, Jean Piaget, a founding father of child psychology, observed something profound about human nature. Our sense of ownership emerges incredibly early. Why are we so clingy? There's a well-established phenomenon in psychology known as the endowment effect, where we value items much more highly just as soon as we own them. In one famous demonstration, students were given a choice between a coffee mug or a Swiss chocolate bar as a reward for helping out with research. Half chose the mug and half chose the chocolate. That is, they seemed to value the two rewards similarly. Other students were given a mug first and then a surprise chance to swap it for a chocolate bar, but only 11% wanted to. Yet another group started out with chocolate, and most preferred to keep it rather than swap. In other words, the students nearly always put greater value on whichever reward they started out with. Part of this has to do with how quickly we form connections between our sense of self and the things we consider ours. That can even be seen at the neural level. In one experiment, neuroscientists scanned participants' brains while they allocated various objects either to a basket labeled mine or another labeled Alex's. When participants subsequently looked at their new things, their brains showed more activity in a region that usually flickers into life whenever we think about ourselves. Another reason we're so fond of our possessions is that from a young age, we believe they have a unique essence. Psychologists showed us this by using an illusion to convince 3 to 6-year-olds they built a copying machine, a device that could create perfect replicas of any item. When offered a choice between their favorite toy or an apparently exact copy, the majority of the children favored the original. In fact, they were often horrified at the prospect of taking home a copy. This magical thinking about objects isn't something we grow out of. Rather, it persists into adulthood while becoming ever more elaborate. For example, consider the huge value placed on items that have been owned by celebrities. It's as if the buyers believed the objects they'd purchased were somehow imbued with the essence of their former celebrity owners. For similar reasons, many of us are reluctant to part with family heirlooms, which help us feel connected to lost loved ones. These beliefs can even alter our perception of the physical world and change our athletic abilities. Participants in a recent study were told they were using a golf putter once owned by the champion Ben Curtis. During the experiment, they perceived the hole as being about 1 centimeter larger than control participants using a standard putter, and they sank slightly more putts. Although feelings of ownership emerge early in life, culture also plays a part. For example, it was recently discovered that Hadza people of northern Tanzania, who are isolated from modern culture, don't exhibit the endowment effect. That's possibly because they live in an egalitarian society where almost everything is shared. At the other extreme, sometimes our attachment to our things can go too far. Part of the cause of hoarding disorder is an exaggerated sense of responsibility and protectiveness toward one's belongings. That's why people with this condition find it so difficult to throw anything away. What remains to be seen today is how the nature of our relationship with our possessions will change with the rise of digital technologies. Many have forecast the demise of physical books and music, but for now at least, this seems premature. Perhaps there will always be something uniquely satisfying about holding an object in our hands and calling it our own.
So this was our group discussion video. Would any of the participants like to share their opinions or views? Roberto?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you for the video. It's a quite interesting topic and that it poses us many questions. A couple of comments. First of all, I think that maybe, but it's just personal perception. Maybe in a world that is more and more unpredictable due to geopolitics, instability, economic, social challenges, climate change, etc. Maybe we want to feel more secure, and so the first feeling we have, first temptation we have, is to grab what we have, what is around us, and it's just an illusion, but maybe it helps us. Second comment is again about metaverse, about subject of my speech. I think that it will be quite interesting to see how the relationships between us and physical things will change in the metaverse, where nothing is physical. So let's see. There are my comments.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing your comments. Abdelak, would you like to add something to the group of discussion?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, actually, it's a very interesting topic. There are a lot of things, we can discuss about why are we attached to our things. I think the first thing that comes to my mind, because we have memories, I think, on that things, usually when we love things or we have memories like a gift from grandfather, grandmother, father, sister, whatever, and even though that may people offer you a very good price to sell that things, you would not sell it because you have something, that remind you of that things. For me, this is the first most important things why we always we are attached to the things. The second, I can say that we have that feeling that when we own a thing, we feel happy. So it may determine our personality, our status. Whatever it be, a car, a perfume, a clothes, that things that you think that it is determining who you are or your personality, then you are too much attached to it. So I can say it is an identity and self-expression. Yeah. Another thing that maybe also I can think of is sometimes we attach to things because psychologically, I can say, we love that kind of things. Maybe it does not even has a value, but you really value that things because simply you love it. So this the three things that in my perception that why mostly people are attached to things. Of course, always there are other reasons. Maybe we could hear from other participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing your views. Blancofer, would you like to add something? Any views, any opinions?
Okay, so good afternoon to all of you. So regarding to the question, why are we so attached to our things? It has something to do because it is something sentimental for us. So it means it's given by our loved ones. And another, as Prof. Sinajki has said, it has also something to do with your personality. If you like something, for example, if you have hobbies as a personal note, for example, if you're a collector of a thing, so for example, dolls, or if you're into K-pop, sometimes the collection is really ridiculous. For example, for a K-pop collection, I'm talking about that. For a piece of photo card, even though it's very expensive, those people who are collecting, they are very happy to collect those actually cardboard, paper. Then though it's very expensive for them, it's really a bragging right. So I have this collection. So I think again, it has something to do with your personality and your likes and hobbies. And on other parts, it also has to do with the sentimental value because it's given by your loved ones. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your views. Chris Nolter, would you like to add something?
Hello, is my voice clear?
Yes, yes, your voice is clear.
All right. So I find that the video is quite relatable to me. We are attached to our things because it is a part of our self-identity. And in my personal experience, I am attached to my digital camera because it is a part of my hobby and my own identity as a part-time photographer. And in a matter of time, the feelings of this attachment would eventually fade away, especially when these things are already broken or damaged. So I would remind myself that my home needs space and I could no longer keep this thing because it is already broken. So as much as I love this thing, there will be a moment of self-actualization that I need to let it go. Yeah, so the attachment to me, in my personal experience, it won't last forever. So that is in my personal opinion. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing your views.
Yeah.
Sharif, would you like to add something?
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, where I'm in Malaysia, it's afternoon time. So,
Okay.
it's an interesting topic. I know the way it's been formulated or presented to us is like a very psychological, but I do think is not only psychological but also social, and I think a bit of neuroscience there, which actually influence the attachment with something, whatever that could be. Because in neuroscience, I think the amygdala, which is actually the center for all this irrational behavior, and sometimes you attach with something, and when you try to rationalize it, it's become very difficult to rationalize. Like your loved one or something, why I love someone, you know, and you become attached to it. When you rationalize it, it's become very difficult. I think that's sort of my thinking, and it's probably because of our reptile brain, the unconscious mind, which actually influences us to behave that way. But I know that most of us were thinking about attachment with a happy memory or happy things, right? But sometimes I think it's not only memory, but also is not only happiness as such. It could be unhappiness, and it could actually attach with the unhappiness. Therefore, having that attachment with unhappiness or unhappy memory or unhappy things that could actually then influence you to build your resilience and coping with life. I think that's probably the way I see attachment.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your views. Hani, would you like to share your views? Hani Mustafa. Hello.
Yes, hi, hello, I'm here. Yeah, as my views, most of it have already been shared by the rest. We are attached to our things, not to me, it's not just anything, it's things that we use very often. And because of that, it becomes part of our personality, our identity. So the more we use them, the harder it is for us to let go. And it could be also things like some of things that were mentioned earlier about having sentimental values given by our loved ones. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for your views. Al Salman, would you like to share your views?
Hello, everybody. I'm so sorry. I'm moving from one place to another place, so I'm not concentrating that much. So I have no comments right now on the video that you presented. Thank you.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
Okay. So to conclude, I would like to say that From the childhood only, we are taught about things that this is ours, this is not ours, this is yours, this is theirs. So sometimes we get attached to the things and we make them a part of our life. So that's why there is such resilience and stubbornness towards our things, about sharing the things. So I think uh, once in a while we feel and we realize that at some point of life we have to let go of our things. So with attachment is slightly a negative term for me. I would like to say I like to love, love some things of mine, and I would not like to share that thing. So we will end the group discussion here. And I would like to request all the participants to turn on their webcams for the photo session activity. Uh, I would like to request all the participants to turn on their webcams. Okay, so we will move ahead with the conference now. Thank you so much for your active discussion and for your opinions and views. So we will move ahead. This brings us all to the end of session 2. Now we will begin with session 3 of our conference, which is technical talk. First, I would like to invite our first presenter of the day, Abdul Malik Al Salman, Computer Science Department, King Saud University, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. This topic is design and implementation of an Arabic Braille self-learning website.
Hello, everybody. My name is Abdul Malik Al Salman from King Saud University, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I'm talking about the design and implementation of an Arabic Braille self-learning website. This project was done by myself, Dr. Amani Al Salman, and Suhair Al Hadrami. The Braille system was developed by Louis Braille. Hello, everybody. My name is Abdul Malik Al Salman from King Saud University, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I'm talking about the design and implementation of an Arabic Braille self-learning website. This project was done by myself, Dr. Amani Al Salman, and Suhair Al Hadrami. The Braille system was developed by Louis Braille, and it was designed for the French language. Then it was spread to all over the world. According to the International Council for Education of People with Visual Impairments, there are almost 39 million people who are blind and 246 million who suffer from low vision. We call them visually impaired, and roughly 90% of visual impaired individuals are in financial poverty, and more than 50 of them are visual impaired children or not receiving well education. There are many online self-learning systems exist to help sighted people to learn read and writing. But for blind, these are very few. While such systems are welcome and appreciated, we suggest that these platforms have to be clear limitations, and according to Kim, the complexities and insufficiencies related to feature usability as well as failure to overcome system errors account for 71% of the problem users faced using assistive technologies. That means that the use of assistive technologies doesn't help those people with visual impairments. And many self-guided platforms designed to teach Braille are expensive, impractical, or inefficient. For self-learning Braille systems, there are 4 types usually: online systems, which is based on website, standalone device systems, and computer-based systems and smartphone-based systems. And we chose online systems based on a website to be available for anywhere and using any device. We call it Learn by My Hand system, so that the blind will learn the Braille system by his hand or her hand, while several self-learning Braille applications lack the support of educational standards. That means they are not based on some educational standards. The current platforms fail to take into account teacher-student communication. That means it's focusing on limited processes designed to teach numbers, letters, or basic sentences. This study seeks to add this additional link, allowing both teachers and students to engage in the learning process system. The system will also allow students to go back over previous concepts independently, while their parents will be able to gain insight into the areas in which their children are strongest and weakest. Based on existing research, this will be the first example for Arabic Braille. 3 forms of control were designed. The first one is the ministry administrator level control. That means at the ministry level, they have the control to add schools, bare areas of any country. We are doing it for Saudi Arabia. The second level of control is by the school administrator, which adds students and teachers based on their classes. The final control and the lowest level is the teacher control, which allow teachers to guide their students and the lessons and also exercise the students are doing, as monitoring also their progress. Students comprises both school students and external students. We mean by external students, any visitor can use this educational system without being enrolled in any school. But in this case, the visitor will not be able to go to previous lessons that he has done or he had done before. and there is no recording of their results or their progress. It's just maybe one-time visit, and then it's all the things are gone after the ending of the session. All school courses are offered in Braille in that platform, but we give now an example of teaching the Braille itself. This is the system user, the administrator, the ministry administrator, which creates schools, or just any guest student can enter. And then the administrator of any school can create teachers and also subscribe for students. The platform use my language, which is the official teaching material to support blind and visually impaired children to engage in level 1 on elementary school in Saudi Arabia. In our case, there is no need to any outside support. This comprises 3 units: the Braille recognition, the alphabet, words, sentences, and diacritics, and more advanced lessons based on previous learning. The first unit is designed around a book and Perkins Braille, but also allows students to seek support from Orbit Reader or any similar device for typing Braille and sensing the Braille dots. These are the Braille typing devices to be attached with the laptop or computer or the smartphone, so that the blind can touch the Braille cells and have a sense of what are the Braille cells. Small alterations have been done or made to the lessons to increase the suitability of the online teaching in Braille system. Also to increase the functionality of the system learned by my hand approach. 4 extra units were also included. We designed the Braille teaching system based on a book called نظام برايل العربي المطور, the improved Arabic Braille system book. Also, mathematical symbols and numbers are taught in Unit 5 of the system. Unit 6 focus on abbreviations. That means in Braille system, the abbreviation is used to reduce the volume of Braille, so that like, you know, say on or in or the will be, you know, comprised of just only one cell. The teachers also have the freedom to introduce additional content or exams or exercise. Also, parents have the option to contact the school through the system when required. In total, we have over 50 lessons in the system, covering more than or around 300 subjects with more than 550 exercises. This is the system. This is the website map, which contains the main screen, the units, and the sign in, also registration or sign up, and about the system, and if the user wants to contact us. Also the lessons, subjects, and all other stuff in the website. The platform was designed for anyone to use, sighted and visually impaired. It's designed for both, so we are trying to limit the number of images to be very light and not annoying those who are blind or those who are sighted. Also, we include the voice over technology to verbalize the written content. And for the design of the system, we also consulted 18 blind and visually impaired individuals to make sure that our system is very easy to trace and use. This is the screenshot of the Ministry Administrator Control panel. This is the school principal control panel for the school administration, which we can see that the number of teachers, the number of students, and to add a student, to add a teacher, and to attach a student with a teacher. This is the teacher control panel, which has the name of the students and their progress and everything related to the student. Also, the system allows students with varying level of sight to access the content successfully. That means that for blind, we have the option of using screen reader. If they use smartphone, computer screen, keyboards, and braille typing devices, all can be used and attached to the system. Also, the sighted individuals, they are able to learn braille and they can record their answering by typing on the screen. And it's also, there is no need for any extra devices if the sighted person wants to learn the braille, because he can see the braille cells. This is the main units for the computer-based for students interface. And we can see that the official book units, there are 7 units. As you can see, braille method preparation and letters, additional lessons for some advanced letters and words, also the punctuations, then the numbers of and math symbols, and then abbreviations, then some reading training. This is the mobile interface. It's similar to the previous one, yet it's just designed for the smartphone. As a conclusion, the Learn by My Hand platform provides self-learning braille in Arabic without additional support or guidance. We made a survey involving 18 people who are sighted, and also some developers to design a system that can be easily traced and followed by visually impaired and also by sighted people. And based on the findings, future research should be also done to get the feedback from the elementary schools who have children who are blind or visually impaired, so that we know to which success our system is, and what's the difference between those who are using our system and those who are not using the system. Thank you for listening, and I hope I did a clear picture about our system. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your beautiful presentation, Abdul Malik.
Welcome, everybody.
Would you like to add something?
No, actually, I have done all things. I'm ready for any question if anyone has any question.
Okay, okay. So I would like to request all the participants to put their questions related to Abdul Malik's presentation in the chat box. He will answer all of your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for listening.
So moving ahead with the conference, our next presenter of the day is Hani Mustafa, School of Humanities, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. Her topic is the impact of social media on foreign language learning. You can read the abstract from the screen.
A very good morning to everyone. My name is Hani Mustafa. I'm the senior lecturer at Center for Modern Languages at Nanyang Technological University here in Singapore. Today, I would like to share with you my study on the impact of social media on foreign language learning. Let me begin by sharing with you the background to this study. As you know, the growing influence of digital technologies has made learning and interaction more varied and authentic. We now have more tools to share with our students. And social media is now the main socializing tools among the young. They receive input from social media daily. And as such, it is important for us to find out whether these inputs from social media help them in their learning or are these disruptive to their learning. The aims of the study is to enhance language learning as well as cultural awareness. It is also to review the impact of social media on foreign language learning. Can it actually develop the language skills? Can it also function as an effective communication platform? Or does it actually confuse our learners? In terms of the research questions, I would like to find out what are the impact of using social media in learning a foreign language. Does social media aid or disrupt the learning of a foreign language? In this study, the students were given tasks to complete after learning certain topics. The tasks have to be completed using TikTok applications. Through the tasks, we seek to provide platform for students to actually practice their language skills or assess their learning of the language skills. The objectives of the study is to ascertain the impact of social media in helping students to learn foreign language, to gain more confidence in using the language, and to have higher intercultural awareness of the language. The participants for this study are students who are taking Malay as a foreign language. They're currently at level 2. Okay, there are 50 of them. In carrying out the study, we first have to set clear guidelines and expectations. We have to explain to them the procedure of the study and the rules and regulations and the responsibilities that we expect of them. And we have to create TikTok accounts specifically for this study. The students actually have their own TikTok account, but that's their personal TikTok account. So we create a new account for them. And then we start uploading TikTok videos for them to use as part of their learning activities. And via the TikTok account also, students have to upload the TikTok videos that they perform or they created. And finally, we conducted survey and focus group discussion. What do the students have to do in the study? First, they have to perform TikTok duets, meaning they have to do a duet with a native speaker. For example, they're given a scenario at a restaurant to order food, so they have to have a duet with this native speaker and interact with one another. They have to respond to the questions that are being asked, and they also have to ask questions to these native speakers. And then they also have to perform TikTok challenges. So these are mainly vocabulary challenges where they have to give the meaning of the words, or grammar rules challenges. And students have to create their own TikTok videos explaining certain grammatical concepts. For example, they have learned the rules on prefixes, so they have to explain how we use certain prefixes in Malay language. And then finally, they also have to create TikTok videos, but this time they're describing certain situations. For example, they're describing their experience buying a food. They are describing the traffic situations. So they've been given certain situations, and then they have to do a video to describe that situation or their experience. At the end of the study, students were asked to fill up a questionnaire, and then they were also invited to attend a focus group discussion for them to give us more inputs about their experience in using TikTok videos as well as TikTok activities as part of their learning. Now let me share with you the findings of the study. Well, overall, the students expressed a very positive experience using participating in this study. They said that it has increased their confidence level in using the language. They had better listening skills too, and they also learned more words, and they were able to speak like native speakers because in the videos they were interacting with various native speakers, and they said that they were able to construct better sentences, and it was also a good platform for them to do a checklist of their own learning. Well, the students also mentioned that they are more motivated to learn the language, having experience using the language via TikTok videos. And they mentioned that these TikTok videos actually created a good platform for them to apply what they have learned in class, and for them to be able to assess how much they have mastered whatever concepts that they learned in class. And they were more aware of how to use the language in both formal as well as informal situations, and they understood the presence of words with multiple meanings and how to apply the meanings of these words depending on the context. Well, not everything is rosy. They also had some negative experiences. Basically, it involves that feeling of insecurity to post the videos. Well, you see, they had fun doing the videos, interacting with their videos. But after that, they actually had to post their videos. By right, they had to post the videos to the public, but they were very unwilling to do that. They were afraid that it kind of conflict with their social media identity. I was made to understand that most of them actually had a different online persona, and in these videos, because they're actually learning a foreign language, a new language, which is not easy, so they feel that it will actually clash or conflict with their social media identity, and they didn't want that to happen. So we respected that opinion of them, their feelings of them. So we restricted the posting to only members of the classmates. Another negative thing is that some of the videos available online may also be culturally inappropriate, or the content, the content that they posted were also inaccurate. So we have to be careful in choosing the right videos for the students to use, or else they will be getting wrong inputs. And the other negative thing or negative experience is about how time consuming this is, because the students, big students, they want to show the best video, the best outcome. So they had to redo multiple times until they were satisfied. So that took up a lot of their time. In conclusion, where social media, in this case the TikTok, are effective and efficient in facilitating the language learning process, but there is also a need to caution the way we engage students on social media. We have to identify suitable videos or allow students to create their own videos, and we need to vet the videos before posting them. That's all from me. Thank you very much. And should you have any queries, please feel free to email me at this email address. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Hani, for your beautiful presentation.
You're welcome.
Would you like to add something?
No, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to say. So as with the rest, if you have any additional or you have any questions, please feel free to put your questions in the chat box.
Okay, so participants having any questions related to Hani's presentation can put the questions in the chat box. She will answer your questions. Thank you so much, Hani. So moving ahead with the conference. Our next presenter of the day is Todd Hull, English Hankook University of Foreign Studies, Seoul, South Korea. Topic, communicative dictation for adult foreign language learners in academic context. So you can read the abstract from the screen.
Hello, my name is Todd Hall, and I am an Associate Professor of English at Hankook University of Foreign Studies in Seoul, South Korea. In today's presentation, I want to talk about dictation, specifically dictation for adult foreign language learners, and more specifically than that, adult foreign language university learners. What does dictation do? Dictation, it actually is good for language. It helps students learn. Dictation is actually good for students. But traditional dictation was just boring. It didn't engage learners. So even though it was good for learners, it was like medicine that didn't taste good. And also, it didn't actually involve real world communication. But Ruth Regenrib formulated what she called dictogloss, and this was a dictation method that actually incorporated the communicative approach and brought dictation into the communicative era of teaching foreign languages. So it actually is pedagogically sound because it helps language acquisition and students engage in authentic communication. The one thing is that a lot of the topics that she and successive practitioners of dictogloss used are a little bit more there, but I want to talk about some of the topics that might be used at universities rather than language institutes. So in this presentation, I'll summarize some traditional types of dictation first. Then we'll go through what dictogloss is and how it's better than traditional dictation. I'll give some of the research on the benefits, and I'll suggest how it can be used at the university level. So traditional dictation. Scott Alkery talks about 4 types. The first type he calls phonemic item dictation. So here teachers just read out individual sounds that are often hard for students. Things like L and R, B and V, P and F, these types of things. This is classic minimal pairs, and it helps students distinguish between sounds that may be difficult for them. Next, there's phonemic text dictation. So here, students actually listen to a text and they transcribe it phonemically or phonetically. And this is great because it helps learners separate sounds from spellings. The only difficulty here is that students do have to learn a phonemic or phonetic transcription system first, but it is useful for students. Next is what he calls orthographic item dictation. So this is the classic spelling test. So it's basically just a spelling test. Teacher reads out words and students spell them. Again, this is useful. Dictation is useful, and Alkery says that it is, quote, useful for reinforcing the correlation between the spelling system and sound system of a language. Next, finally, there is orthographic text dictation. And this is where students hear a whole passage, and of course this is the classic dictation. When people think of dictations or remember dictations they have done, this is what they are usually thinking about. And what Al-Khoury says about this is that, quote, besides reinforcing the spelling sound correlations of English, the orthographic text dictation uncovers comprehension and grammatical weaknesses in learners which the teacher can analyze and address in future lessons. So, dictation helps. Dictation actually does further language acquisition and improve proficiency in a foreign language. Finacario, all the way back in 1969, summarized some of the benefits of it, and his summary is still relevant these days. So, first of all, he says that dictation ensures attentive listening. So, learners have to focus. They really have to focus on their listening. And it trains pupils to distinguish sounds. So, again, different sounds like L and R, B and V, etc. Also, it helps them with their punctuation. And again, it enables pupils to transfer oral sounds to written symbols. So again, listening to writing. And again, another thing it does is it develops their listening comprehension, their oral comprehension. And finally, it helps students evaluate themselves. Where do they need to improve? What might they do to improve their language skills in the future? As I mentioned before, traditional dictation is just plain boring. Also, as I mentioned before, it really does help language acquisition, but in traditional dictation, there was no communication going on. There was no real-world communications. It was just listen and write. So, Rip developed Dictogloss to address that. So, what is Dictogloss, this communicative dictation method? Classic Dictogloss activity has 4 stages. First, preparation. Here, learners actually learn about the topic and maybe some of the vocabulary that will be used in the text. Then there's the actual dictation, where learners hear the listening text and they take some notes on it. Next, what is different than a traditional dictation is that instead of just listening and listening and listening and listening until the teacher goes around and checks to make sure everybody has it right, learners listen, but then they just try to reconstruct the text after listening to the text a couple of times. They try to reconstruct it on their own. And then, after that, learners actually analyze the text that they have reconstructed and correct some of the errors. So, as I mentioned before, Dictogloss adds a communicative element. How does it do that? Again, as mentioned before, what happens is the text is read twice at normal speed. Then learners take notes. Then learners reconstruct their text. I mentioned that learners reconstruct their text, but what makes Dictogloss especially communicative is they don't just do that on their own. They actually work together with other learners in class to reconstruct their texts. And then each group of students produces their own reconstructed version, coming as close as they can to the original. But their goal is not to get it quote-unquote right, to exactly reconstruct the original text. Their goal is to come close and get the main idea. Then all the groups can come together and they can refine their text and get it as close to the original as possible. So, what's the main difference between Dictogloss and traditional dictation? Well, first of all, Dictogloss is communicative. There is genuine communication when students are doing a Dictogloss activity. In fact, Dictogloss activities cannot be completed unless learners actually succeed in communicating their ideas, succeed in real-world communication. Selects are good, they're for adults, but they often have the feel of belonging a little more at a language institute than a university. So I just want to go through and give some examples of some topics, and we can get an idea, we can get a feel for which topics would be a little bit more at home in a language institute and those which might be more for a university setting. There's an overlap, but a cluster view can help us get the difference. So I'm going to give two sets of topics, and when I'm giving the topics, think about which of those, which set would be for a language institute and which one might be a little bit more at home in the university classroom. Topic set number one, things like famous inventors, popular music, the space race, the history of dogs as human companions, the science of shopping, design of buildings, portrait of an archaeologist, making first impressions. In business environments, history of aviation, why does food taste good, famous business people, technology, why do people like extreme sports, CSI crime investigations, birth order, ecotourism, medical innovations, and Martin Luther King and civil rights. What about those? What do you think about those? Are those probably language institute or university topics? Okay, let's look at the next set. Martin Luther King Jr. is belittled, vilified, or ignored by corporate-funded media for opposing the Vietnam War. Freedom of the press in a media landscape dominated by corporations, dark money and political outcomes, war crimes investigations of 21st century U.S. presidents, internet search engine censorship of content that angers corporate donors, persecution of corporate and government whistleblowers, large commercial media intentionally not covering stories that jeopardize corporate funding, why corporate-funded media reports almost exclusively on blue-collar crime rather than white-collar crime, corporate-funded media focusing almost exclusively on retail terrorism like Al-Qaeda and not on state terrorism such as the 2 U.S. invasions of Iraq. Well, it becomes pretty clear here that group number one, that's for language institutes. Those are sort of like ho-hum activities that don't really require very much discussion and debate. And group number two, those are ones that require quite a bit more debate there. And those are a little bit more controversial and hot button, and those are for the university classroom. There is overlap. Raj and Ribs are mostly the language institute type. All right, now that we have some topics that would be more at home in the university classroom, let's talk about what to do with Dictogloss in a university classroom. So first you select the topics, and then you can go on to do Dictogloss in the university classroom. So a general format for implementing Dictogloss in a university classroom. First, do a Dictogloss activity as following the steps that were mentioned before. Then, after the students have reconstructed the text that is the Dictogloss activity, then in the university classroom you can add more writing and speaking practice. Of phases that a Dictogloss activity might go through in a university classroom. Preparation. Before you give learners a text, they could just express an opinion about a general idea. For example, if you're going to read a text about renewable energy, students might think of one kind of renewable energy and list some of its benefits and limitations. This is a preparation phase. This gets students
Sorry for the inconvenience caused. There was a network issue in our area. We will continue with the conference.
some of its benefits and limitations. This is a preparation phase. This gets students in the mode of thinking about the topic. Next, you give the actual listening passage, and here the listening passage is a specific claim related to the topic. For example, somebody advocating renewable energy says that the reason that we are not moving towards renewable energy quickly enough is political, not technological. Then the students do the dictogloss, they reconstruct the activity with their classmates, and then you add that reading, that writing and speaking practice that I mentioned before. So first of all, they respond to the text with a paragraph, either agreeing or disagreeing with the ideas in the text. Then is the speaking practice element of the lesson, where here learners come together and they discuss their ideas with classmates. This is something that is according to the communicative approach. So that was an idea of actually how to do a dictogloss activity in the classroom. Here's a little bit of the research here. And if you want to see more, just see the paper accompanying this presentation to be published in the journal. Oh, dictogloss, it has traditional dictation's benefits of focusing learners' attention on language points. It does this by having them actually notice some individual points about the language. It also has them distinguish sounds in a language like L and R, B and V, etc. And when they're listening, it gives them practice putting those sounds into writing, and of course it aids in comprehension. And again, dictogloss has modernized dictation, so it has brought it into the area of communicative language learning and teaching by adding the element of actual, authentic, real-world communication. Now, the additional topics that Raj and Rib and others were generally for language institutes instead of university classrooms. The topics I suggested here are geared more towards the university environment, and that makes dictogloss available as a valuable tool for university AFL educators as well. And I have also outlined how to implement dictogloss in a university classroom. Thank you very much, and I hope that
Thank you so much, Todd, for the wonderful presentation. Due to some unavoidable reasons, Todd has not attended the conference, but participants having any questions related to his presentation can put their questions in the chat box. Moving ahead with the conference, our next presenter is Dr. Sharif Haider, Health and Social Care, the Open University, Milton Keynes, United Kingdom. Topic: Developing skills of risk assessment in child and family social work using a 3D stimulated approach. You can read the abstract from the screen. I would like to invite Sharif Haider to live present in the conference. Sharif, can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, you are audible.
Okay, thank you very much. What I'm going to do, I'm going to share my presentation with you. So I'm going to go to the screen share.
Okay.
Can you see anything? Can you see my presentation?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, good. Okay, brilliant. So you can see me, you can hear me, right? Okay, so
you can continue.
sorry, have you said anything or?
No, I was just saying you can continue with the presentation.
Cool. Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so my presentation about virtual reality for health and social care practitioner. Before I actually move into presentation, very quickly, I just want to say, when I say health and social care practitioner, what do I mean by that? I mean by that is doctors, nurses, social workers, occupational therapists, and physiotherapists. Those are the professionals I mean when I say health and social care practitioner. This is a big funded project from the United Kingdom. And still I'm doing this research. I'm only sharing the first phase of my research, which is basically developing a virtual reality simulation for health and social care practitioner. And it is only focusing on practitioner rather than students, although there are some similarities in terms of what we actually develop. We can definitely use it to students, but it should be focused on practitioners. Now, what are the challenges in terms of practitioners learning about something? Well, from the context of United Kingdom, what we know that some of the things probably, and I'm stressing the word probably here because a different institution, different culture, got different ways of teaching doctors, teaching social workers, and what is actually based on my research, what we found in the United Kingdom, that our approach is pretty much didactic. What does that mean? In colloquial language, if you like, in England, we say chalk and talk. That means the teacher holding the chalk, the chalk and the blackboard and writing, and the learner sitting and then listening to the tutor, like the way I'm trying to do now. But what we found that from neuroscience and learning theories, that's actually not effective way of teaching doctors or social workers or nurses, because they basically learn by doing things, because it's a very practice-focused profession. And also, I can tell you this from neuroscience, that within 7 minutes to 10 minutes, we switch off. unless we are actively involved with something. Now, how we can actually make students or practitioners or professionals actively involved, that's the challenge. Also, the other thing is I found that what we are doing is mostly in health and social care, we teach face-to-face in person. Think about the COVID-19, what happened? All of a sudden, we went to Zoom, Microsoft Teams, all the virtual world we went. We had to do that. There wasn't any choice for us, but was it effective? Well, so far the research actually saying, no, really, people don't like it. People hate it. I'm talking about United Kingdom here. And from our research, we've seen the Zoom, Microsoft Teams, they're good, they're good to giving the information. But in terms of learning, absolutely useless. Why? Going back to the argument of interaction. We lack interaction. We're human beings. We're not a bunch of robots or we're not a bunch of monkeys. We love, even monkeys, they love interaction. So do we. Now, the problem we've got is Microsoft Team or Zoom, they're pretty cost effective. They're simple. You are not bringing a tutor in front of 50, 60 practitioners. And then 50, 60 practitioners, they're coming out from hospitals and they're sitting in front of you. So basically, they're not doing anything at that time other than listening to you. And after 10 minutes, they are switch off. They're daydreaming. They're sleeping, although they're in front of you, but inside they're sleeping. Was it effective in terms of learning? No. In terms of cost, it is. But you know what? We are dealing with doctors. We're dealing with social workers. We're dealing with nurses. And if things go wrong, it's a serious business. It's actually a life and death situation. Therefore, we need to make it effective for them. Also, the other thing is actually a doctor or a social worker or a nurse, when they qualified, they have to go through internship, as you probably know. And it could be 200 days to 500 days they need to spend in hospitals. Now that's expensive as well, pretty expensive. To keeping a student in a ward is pretty expensive. Not about that the doctors are giving time to them, but also in terms of they're actually becoming a part of the organization. And that means actually you are not paying, but you are paying. So it's indirect cost mostly. And the last bit is actually living condition. As you probably know, the UK is going through a serious problem in terms of the economy. Living cost is absolutely high. And whenever we've seen it in 2008 banking crash, when things like this happen, what organization do? They cut the training budget. So that's where we are at this moment, folks, in the United Kingdom. So those are our challenges. How are we going to actually train them? If that's going to happen, or this is happening to an extent, how are we going to challenge them? How are we going to actually train them so that they learn quickly and we actually keep them involved, and then they don't actually go and sleep in front of us? So we again rely on technology to find the answer. And then we found that what is actually expected by the practitioners. They actually said only way they're going to be involved with training as long as those learning is going to be problem-based. So you give them a problem, they will solve it. And you can see the rationale behind it. So when we are, as a human being, when we are involved with a problem, trying to find a solution, we are engaged with it. And if we can actually bring the interaction with it, we can actually solve the problem better than one person. As always in English, is actually saying that two heads is better than one. So more people, interaction, better. And also with problem-based learning, you could actually include contemporary learning, because if it's a problem-based, that means actually you are dealing with a problem which actually coming out just now or is happening now. And I've already said to you, learning by doing. The other thing I haven't actually told you so far is about the flexibility. Doctors, nurses, social workers, they want flexibility because they're working. And you cannot actually ask them to come to a session, listening to you for 2 hours, let's say 2 hours, after 10 minutes going to daydreaming, and then not doing their work. So that's not actually, in terms of, if you think about the monetary terms, that's not good, because we are actually spending money by keeping them there. And most of all, they're not learning. So what's the point? It's basically waste of our time. That's what I think, waste of our time in relation to the practitioners, as well as the tutors, the instructors. Okay, so we then thought about why not we actually bring virtual reality simulation. The reason why we thought that all the problems that I actually presented to you, and also the solutions, which are most of them expected by the practitioners, we felt that if we bring virtual reality simulation, that would actually solve some of the problem, but not all of them. Okay, because it is immersive, it is interactive, and we can actually make it problem-based. And if we actually give them an Oculus headset, virtual reality headset, they can do things by, you know, they in the simulation, they can do things, and by doing so, they are learning. Now, my plan was actually, because we thought that this session is going to be face-to-face in person, I thought I was able to show you what I've developed by giving you virtual reality headset, and you can actually give it a go. But that's not possible because we are doing online, and I can't actually give you virtual reality headset now. So I'm just going to talk things through with you. But if you're interested, do let me know. I can show you our videos that would actually give you some ideas what we developed. And also, I think the way we develop things is a cost-effective, although it's actually debatable whether cost-effective in relation to when you buy the headsets, they're very expensive. But in terms of saving, I think long-term we can save, but not, initial investment, it has to be quite a lot, like any technology, okay? So we developed a skill set for the risk assessment and management in the context of safeguarding children. That means actually supporting children, managing the risk and management. I'm not going to actually delve deeper into those areas. You can see someone who is actually using the headset. Can you see that? You cannot actually hear the voice because it's not possible to actually hear the voice, but at least you can see that that's what we developed. Someone from medicine background came and put the Oculus headset there, and basically she was learning by doing things in that simulation and become very immersive with it. Okay. Some of the slides I'm going to show you just to give you a demonstration what we developed, but these are very still photograph, if you like. They're not virtual or not actually moving, because it's difficult to share those things. If you want, I'm happy to share some of the things via email or YouTube. Okay. So you can see this is basically when someone actually put their headset, they can actually see these things. And there are a number of exercises that they need to perform while they're there. And while they're actually doing all the exercises, they absolutely forget that they are actually sitting in a sofa or standing and doing things actually. But outside people, they'll actually see them doing things. But the person who is actually using the headset, they're basically immersed into that environment solving problems. So our initial findings are actually, I tried to put it in a Word art document, and you can see the big bold font are the one that so many practitioners said they liked about the virtual reality simulation. And you can see that the big one is engaging. I'm not surprised, because when we do the face-to-face in-person talk-to-talk session, 10 minutes later they go to sleep, and when they are actually solving a problem interactively in a virtual environment, Of course, they're engaging and they forget. I mean, some of the comments they actually made, Sharif, absolutely, we forgot about everything, that we're actually sitting in a hospital ward. It seems to me we're actually in a home environment and trying to solve the problem for this person and that's for this child who has got traumatic disorder. It is immersive because, as I said, you absolutely forget about your that you are actually in the ward. You are absolutely in that environment trying to solve the problem. It is a safe because, as you know, in health and social care practices, it is important to actually keep people safe. Our sort of values or ethos, if you like, cause no harm to patients. So that's the thing. So if we are trying to solve a problem, we are not doing it with a real patient. We're doing things in virtual environment, so it's a pretty safe. And also the other thing, by doing so, if someone make a mistake, they can continuously trial it, practice it until they become competent about their specific skills. Okay, so as I said, it's the first phase that I'm presenting today. It is 2 years project. In this first phase, 23 participants involved, health and social care practitioner. It was a focus group. After doing the simulation, going through all this problem and interaction, we called them for a debrief. After the debrief, we did the focus group. And the things that came out from all the practitioners, hey, this is a very good system because it is flexible. I do not have to worry about my patient. I can do things when I'm actually, when I'm at home. I can do it when I don't have pressure from job, you know, and I can access via, web page. And also the other thing I haven't told you, this virtual reality simulation, although it's developed for the headset, you can access via your smartphone and also your laptop. But what we found that immersion in terms of a headset and a laptop or smartphone is less compared to if you use the virtual reality headset. And it was interactive because what we allowed practitioners come together to actually act in that virtual world. So it was very interactive, and of course it was immersive. Okay. So what we found that it's easy to use. The way we developed it, it was because I knew from my my own practice background, I knew that if you ask a doctor, a nurse, or a social worker to try something new, you always find this problem. We can't deal with it. It just any change you want to make in their life, it becomes very difficult for them because they are so focused on practice, they forget about developing skills or new things. So that's why I made this virtual reality simulation easy to use. And I found that from the first phase evaluation that they actually found is very easy to use. However, some of them still found that they need to have instruction in the simulation. Although we gave them instruction beforehand, they actually forgot about them when they actually went to there. So they were so immersed with the environment, they forgot about the instruction. So a good learning for me and my development team that we need to actually put instruction in the simulation. So while they're doing things, they will see instruction as well. Also, we found something negative about motion sickness because when they actually put the headset, they felt a bit dizzy. Some of them actually found visual fatigue. That means actually, for 10, 15 minutes, you're putting the headset and some of them felt, oh, it's not actually helping them in relation to managing their, eyes. And they found that if we actually use that more than 15 minutes, they will have fatigue. But my simulation, the one we developed, is actually only for 10 minutes. So we are in a safe side. So that was good to know. So folks, that's it from me. That was my findings. It was first phase. Currently, I'm actually doing quantitative research now. So it's been tested by 300 practitioners. Now we are getting the data out of them. So hopefully that would actually give us some generalizability out of this piece of research. So thank you very much for your patience and time. I know it's difficult because I'm talking about something probably some of you thinking, oh, I never actually thought about this kind of thing, or some of you probably know this anyway. So I'm trying to actually piece my sort of in a way whereby everyone can actually understood what I actually developed and my research. So any question would be really appreciated, or any comments. Thank you so much.
Sharif, Dr. Sharif Heather. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You was a bit quiet for sometimes, but I can hear you. I can see the problem with online thing.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was really informative and wonderful. So participants having any questions related to Sharif's presentation can put the questions in the chat box and he will answer your questions. Thank you so much. Moving ahead with the conference. So I would like to invite our next presenter of the day, Alagan Anpalagan, Electrical and Computer Engineering, Toronto Metropolitan University, Ontario, Canada. Topic: performance comparison of CNN-based image classification models to detect distracted drivers. You can read the abstract from the screen. Moving ahead. Before starting the next presentation, I would like to request all the participants to turn on their webcams. I apologize for the inconvenience. We are facing a little bit network issues in our area.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our presentation. I'm Salman Ghaffar, a Master of Engineering student at Toronto Metropolitan University in Toronto, Canada. I'm here to talk about the project on which me and my supervisor, Dr. Alagan, worked on together. The title of the project is Classification of Images to Detect Distracted Drivers by using Convolutional Neural Networks. First, talking about the agenda of our presentation, we'll start by talking about the introduction, discussing the problem statement, then we'll go towards literature review, in which we will discuss some prominent work which has been done in this domain, and then we'll move forward to discuss the models which we have used in our analyses. We'll share the details on that, and then we'll move towards discussing the results which we obtained and the analyses of that result based on the comparison of all the models. And at the end, we'll conclude our presentation with the conclusion that which model performed the best in terms of the different performance metrics which we will observe. And then we'll also discuss some future work items which can be done in this domain. So distracted driving has been a problem ever since we have roads on the car. People drive their cars with not paying proper attention on the road or on the steering wheel. And it's evident that according to a recent stat,
There is some issue regarding the video of Alagan. We will move forward with the conference. Some problem with the network. We will continue in a few minutes, few seconds. Okay, so moving ahead with the conference. So our next presenter for the day is Blancafor Arada, Faculty of Information and Communication Studies, University of Philippines, Open University, Los Banos, Philippines. Her topic is revolutionizing the online Arduino programming education using Tinkercad during the COVID-19 pandemic. You can read the extract from the screen given.
To the organizers and participants of the 2023, good day to all of you. To the organizers and participants of the 2023 EdTech International Conference in Education and Learning Technology, good day to all of you. I am very honored to present to you my research with the title, Revolutionizing the Online Arduino Programming Education Using Tinkercad During the COVID-19 Pandemic. I am Blancafor P. Arada, an assistant professor from the University of the Philippines Open University, located at Los Baños, Laguna, Philippines. So to start my presentation, so we have the Arduino. It is an open source electronics platform based on easy-to-use hardware and software. Because of its simple and accessible user experience, Arduino has been used in thousands of different projects and applications. The Arduino IDE, or the Integrated Development Environment, is easy to use for beginners, yet flexible enough for advanced users. It is cross-platform as it runs on Mac, Windows, and Linux. And then we have the Arduino microcontroller board. Because of its cost effectiveness, it is widely used in prototyping, robotics, and Internet of Things or IoT projects. However, learning Arduino programming can be challenging, especially for beginners who lack the necessary hardware or have limited access to physical components, such as shown in the slide. So this is the Arduino Uno R3, one of the most popular Arduino microcontroller variant. So next is we have the COVID-19 pandemic. This has forced many educational institutions to shift their teaching and learning methods from in-person to online and distance learning. In particular, college education, not only in the Philippines, but also worldwide, has been greatly impacted as hands-on laboratory activities such as programming and circuit building are more difficult to facilitate remotely. So next,
The solution is Tinkercad. It is a free web application simulation platform off the desk, has emerged as a potential solution for teaching Arduino programming remotely. So this study aims to explore the effectiveness of online Arduino programming education using Tinkercad during the COVID-19 pandemic to identify the learning outcomes, challenges, and opportunities of this approach. So the methodology used here is a post-evaluation survey based on the system usability scale. So to investigate the usability of online Arduino programming education using Tinkercad, the researcher conducted a post-evaluation survey based on the system usability scale, or the SUS questions, using Google Forms. This is to assess the effectiveness and efficiency of Tinkercad as an Arduino programming learning platform and the satisfaction of students while using the web application. So we have 10 SUS questions, and then the participants are 42 first-year computer technology students, which is the sample size of the student population taking up the programming of Arduino classes in a state university. A 5-point Likert scale is used. Number 1 is for strongly agree. Number 2 is agree. Number 3 is neutral. Number 4 is disagree. And number 5 is strongly disagree. So for the first SUS question, 74% agreed that they would like to use the Tinkercad web application frequently. At the time that the survey was conducted, the usage of Tinkercad is required in their Arduino programming online class. Second, 37% of the participants generally agreed that they find the Tinkercad web application unnecessarily complex. Next is we have third, 67% of the participants agreed that the Tinkercad web application was easy to use. The web application can be used by the students well to understand the Arduino programming using its simulation. And the next is we have fourth, though the Tinkercad web application is perceived as easy to use by 67% of the student population and has an intuitive interface, 55% of the participants generally agreed that they would still need the support of a technical person to be able to use the application. There was still a need for an expert or teacher intervention for students to fully understand Arduino programming by using Tinkercad. And then fifth, 74% of the participants generally agreed that they find the various functions of the Tinkercad web application were well integrated. As evidence of the Tinkercad web user interface, it is complete with the Integrated Development Environment, or the IDE, for coding the Arduino Sketch, the electronic components inventory needed for setting up the microcontroller, and simulation to check the correctness of the Arduino Sketch and the electronic components in the Arduino board. So to continue, we have the sixth SUS question. 29% of the participants generally agreed that they thought the Tinkercad web application has too many inconsistencies. And then for the seventh, 64% of the participants agreed that they would imagine that most people would learn to use the Tinkercad web application very quickly. And then for the eighth SUS question, 20% of the participants generally agree that the Tinkercad web application was very cumbersome to use. And then for the ninth, 57% of the participants generally agreed that they felt very confident using the Tinkercad web application. And then last but not the least, the 10th SUS question, 57% of the participants generally agreed that they needed to learn a lot of things before they could get going with the application. Just like learning any programming language, it is imperative to learn about concepts related to Arduino programming and electronic components. So after getting the results, we have to calculate the SUS score. So first, sum the score contributions from each statement per participant. Each item score contribution will range from 4 to 0. For statements 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, the score contribution is 5 minus the scale position, For items 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10, the contribution is scale position minus 1. Next is multiply the sum of the scores by 2.5 to obtain the overall value of SUS. And then last but not the least, get the SUS average from the participant's score. And then based on the research, an SUS score above 68 percentile rank would be considered above average, and anything below 68 is below average. So the result of the SUS score is 58 percentile rank of the study, and unfortunately, it is below average. So the question now is why? What are the reasons for the low SUS? First, we have the pandemic has negatively affected the mental health of students, as we have read in many research studies. And then second, Philippines' internet infrastructure. So the country's internet infrastructure unfortunately lags among those of contemporary developing countries in Asia, particularly in terms of internet connectivity. And then third, the results show that classroom learning was more effective than online learning. So the average grade of the participants, which is 3.3, is lower than those of the students who have experienced in-person Arduino programming classes of the previous year, which is the average grade is 2.4. They had hands-on activities with the Arduino board and electronic components, which reinforced the learning outcomes of the course. So for the conclusion, overall, the findings suggest that online Arduino programming education using Tinkercad has the potential to be effective and efficient and provide satisfaction for student learning outcomes during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, challenges and limitations must be addressed to ensure the effectiveness of this approach. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you and good day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Blanca, for your wonderful presentation. Would you like to add something?
Nothing, ma'am. I'm just going to wait if there are any questions that will be asked by our participants or my co-participants. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Participants having any questions related to her presentation can put the questions in the chat box. She will answer all of your questions. Thank you so much again. Moving ahead with the conference. So in today's conference, our listener was Chris Nolter Bunsu, Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, University Technology, Malaysia, Johor, Malaysia. Thank you, Chris Nolter, for attending the conference as the listener today.
Yes, you're welcome.
So moving ahead with the conference. So this brings us to the end of the conference. With great pleasure and enthusiasm, I would like to conclude that the conference was a great success. Many people have contributed in different ways. to turn this event into a smoothly running conference with very interesting presentations. This conference has resulted in good discussions and networking. I owe my gratitude to all the presenters and patient listeners, to the coordinators and the whole staff of Eurasia Research for their constant support. I would also like to thank all of the universities and institutes who have sponsored our participants and people who have directly or indirectly contributed in the smooth conduct of this conference. Thank you so much, everyone. Now I would like to ask if anybody has any feedback related to the conference. Chris Nolter, any feedback?
It is such a great conference, but to be honest, this is my first time attending online conference, so I could not compare it with any experience before. Yeah, so but what I can say right now, for this conference, it is such a great experience.
Okay, thank you so much for your kind words. Blancofer, do you have any feedback for us?
Actually, this is a very excellent conference, but I hope by the near future, when the COVID-19 pandemic is already, it's not really disappear, because it will always be with us. I hope there will be an in-person or face-to-face conferences, because based on the researches presented, that we are all social beings and we have to interact as humans. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words. And we will all are looking forward for the physical conference as well, so that we can interact with all the participants. Dr. Sharif Heather, any opinion, any feedback for us?
No, as other presenters said, I think I prefer face-to-face. I was planned for face-to-face, but then it moved to online. But it's a face-to-face is better in terms of networking and also showing things. Thank you.
Yes, yes, and your presentations also included that face-to-face is really much immersive and interactive. So we are planning in the future for a face-to-face conference as well. Thank you for your feedback today. Abdelak, any feedback for us?
Thank you very much for organizing this great conference. I, had the feeling of, actually, I moved to Malaysia to attend the conference, and afterwards I know that it is online. Unfortunately, I was, as I told you, I was thinking that it is in the morning, and I had to move from one city to another city during this time. It's the afternoon time, because I already scheduled ahead before, also knowing that it is on the afternoon period. I'm so sorry that I'm not all the time with you in the Zoom, but I enjoyed many of the presentations. I hope to meet you in person sometime in the future.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all.
Thank you so much. So this brings us to the end of the conference. We are hosting our upcoming conferences are in the future in Berlin and other cities also. You can see the slide. Our upcoming conferences are in Berlin, Singapore, Bangkok. Please refer to your friends and colleagues about the conferences. And thank you very much for attending the conference, for being so patient with us. And thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. Thank you, everyone.